Welcome to the deep dive. So, you brought a really interesting source to the table this time, Karen Faith's TEDx talk. It's called How to Talk to the Worst Parts of Yourself.
Yeah, it's on the TEDx Talks YouTube channel. And what really struck me right off the bat was where these insights are coming from.
Right. Not the usual suspect.
Exactly. You expect, therapists, maybe meditation gurus, but a focus group moderator. It's definitely an unusual perspective on self-acceptance.
It really makes you lean in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what could moderating all those different kinds of people possibly teach someone about their own inner stuff?
That's the hook. It feels like she kind of stumbled onto something profound through this very specific job she has.
Totally. So, I guess our mission for this deep dive is to really unpack that, to understand her core ideas about dealing with those inner critical voices.
And see how managing those external groups gave her this fresh way of looking at self-acceptance, warts and all.
Okay, so let's jump right in. One of the first things she does is challenge a really common idea.
Oh yeah, she quotes that saying, "Non è vero ciò che dicono, che non potete amare qualcuno se non amate voi stessi."
Which means,
Basically, it's not true what they say, that you can't love someone else until you love yourself. She's just calling it out right at the start.
wow, okay. That definitely flips the script on a lot of self-help advice.
It really does. And she backs it up personally, saying she loved other people way before she felt any real self-love. Her point is, love doesn't really care where you're starting from.
It just shows up.
Yeah, it meets you where you are.
I think that could be really freeing for people who feel that pressure, that pressure to fix themselves first before they're allowed to connect or even be kind to themselves.
Right. It suggests maybe that outward love, that connection, could actually be a pathway to self-acceptance, not something you have to earn by being perfect first.
So where did this idea develop for her? You mentioned the focus groups.
Yes, that was her unexpected training ground. She talks about being a focus group moderator and the sheer variety of people she encounters.
She paints a great picture, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah. The shy one, the grumpy one who thinks it's all stupid, the eager mom, the student who's maybe bending the truth a bit.
The clueless dad, the suspicious veteran. She lists quite a few archetypes.
Exactly. All these different, sometimes clashing personalities in one room.
And her big takeaway was,
That navigating those spaces, managing all those, as she puts it, strange and difficult voices outside, that actually taught her how to welcome the strange and difficult parts inside herself.
that's such a fascinating link she makes between the external job and the internal landscape.
It really is. And she didn't just notice the parallel, she actively applied it. She talks about her morning meditation practice.
Oh, right, the internal focus group.
Exactly. She literally greets her inner voices like participants, saying things like, Vi ringrazio per essere qui. Thank you for being here.
Il vostro contributo è valido. Your contribution is valid.
Ascolterò ciascuno di voi. I will listen to each of you. It's this deliberate act of extending that moderator's impartial welcome inwards.
It's quite methodical, isn't it? Taking those professional skills and turning them inward.
Yeah, and she makes it clear this isn't just for her, it's for anyone with an inner dialogue, especially, she says, if yours is particularly loud.
Which, let's be honest, whose isn't sometimes.
Right. And she talks about realizing she wasn't just one monolithic self. She had these different parts, these multiple selves inside.
Conflicting views, yeah.
Totally. Like her main example was the clash between her sentimental, emotional side and her more intellectual, analytical side.
That push and pull.
Yeah. And she mentions others too, the social self, the one that feels kind of shaky in the moment, cribulante nel momento. It's so relatable, that feeling of internal conflict.
It really is, and she normalizes it, connecting it to everyday stuff. Like, being excited and nervous about a new job.
Or being exhausted but somehow wide awake. Loving someone who drives you nuts.
Or even loving someone who's really hurt you. She argues these aren't necessarily signs you're broken. They're often just, rational responses to life being complicated.
Sure. But then she does shift focus to the harder stuff, the really painful inner thoughts.
The ones that really dig in.
Exactly. Like, I am useless, or I don't belong, or thinking the mistakes I've made are unforgivable, or all the bad things are my fault.
Those are the thoughts that can really derail you.
Definitely. And she points out those are the thoughts that send us searching for answers, therapy, yoga, whatever works. She even lists her own incredible journey trying to silence these voices.
Oh man, that list was something else.
Wasn't it? All kinds of therapy, energy healing, body work, hypnotherapy, even soul retrieval and special tea with a shaman.
She really went for it. Didn't she almost do live bee acupuncture?
She did, nearly. It just shows the lengths people go to find some peace from that inner noise.
And after all that, sometimes she still just found herself internally yelling, "Stai Zita, shut up!"
Which, honestly, is probably also pretty relatable for many people, but this sets up a real turning point for her.
Right, which came through her work as a researcher.
Yeah, practicing empathy with strangers. And she makes this interesting point that her own PTSD symptoms, ironically, made her hyper-aware, really good at picking up subtle cues from people.
And then came that specific encounter.
The really pivotal one, this woman she was interviewing, feeding her baby French fries, refusing vaccines because she misunderstood something about polio.
Holding a Virginia Slim cigarette, I think she mentioned.
Yes. And Faith is really honest about her immediate internal judgment of this woman.
But something shifted.
Massively. Instead of judging or even just trying to tolerate or feel compassion, she decided to try something different. Unconditional welcome.
And she's clear. This isn't about agreeing or condoning.
Not at all. It's about total acceptance without the running commentary in her head. Just letting the person be exactly as they are in that moment. She visualized a sparkling soap bubble around them both.
Like creating a non-judgmental space.
Exactly. And the effect was profound. Suddenly, she saw the mother differently. Not as ignorant or bad, but as someone trying desperately to protect her child in a world she felt she couldn't trust.
And that opened up a real conversation.
It did. She understood the woman's fears, her struggles. And crucially, Faith connected that act, unconditionally welcoming this stranger, with the very beginning of starting to love herself.
Wow, that's powerful. So extending it outward helped her turn inward.
Precisely. And that became her new approach to her own difficult inner voices. She talks about one particularly nasty one.
The one she described as whiny and demanding, unreasonable and relentless.
That's the one, the voice that just kept saying it wanted to die again and again, just awful.
And her first instinct was the old one, just make it stop, plead with it to be quiet.
Right. But then she had her breakthrough. She took a breath, and instead of fighting it, she became her own internal moderator.
Using those phrases from her practice.
Yeah. She internally said, "Grazie per aver condiviso," thank you for sharing. And then, crucially, "Ti ricordo il nostro accordo di essere onesti e ragionevoli." I remind you of our agreement to be honest and reasonable. Setting a boundary.
But respectfully.
And the voice responded.
Amazingly, yes.
It replied, "Ora non ti spaventare. Questo è tutto ciò pensiamo sia successo. Now don't be scared. This is all we think happened."
Whoa, like it just wanted to be heard, but also maybe understood that its way of expressing itself was alarming.
Exactly. It suggests even the worst voices might be trying to communicate something important, maybe about past hurts or fears, just in a really distorted way.
So how did that change things?
It changed the whole dynamic. Faith acknowledged its suffering, saying, "Lo so I know, and I promise I will take care of you, but I need it to interact. I will listen to you, but I will not obey you."
Listening without obeying. That's a key distinction.
Huge. And the voice apparently just said, "Va bene." Okay, like it agreed to the terms.
So applying those focus group principles, honesty, boundaries, kindness, gratitude, actually worked internally.
It seems so. It opened up communication. It allowed her to see her mind less as a battlefield and more like, well, that focus group again. Diverse voices, sometimes conflicting, but with her as the moderator, maintaining order and allowing each part to be heard respectfully.
Which led to a different view of herself overall.
Yeah, she uses this beautiful analogy. Instead of feeling like a broken mirror, fragmented and damaged.
She started to feel like a prism.
Exactly, a prism, still multifaceted, but whole, reflecting a full spectrum of light, of experience. All parts contribute to the whole picture.
That's a much more integrated way of looking at it.
Definitely. And she says now she welcomes every voice, even the really unreasonable sounding ones, because she recognizes they aren't inherently bad.
They're just trying to help, maybe, in a misguided way.
That's her take. They're trying to signal something, protect her somehow. And she found that when she actually asks them, with clarity and kindness, what's going on,
They reveal what she needs to know.
and what they need to feel okay, to be well, it becomes collaborative instead of combative.
So it really all comes back to that core practice, unconditional welcome.
That seems to be the key takeaway. She keeps drawing the parallel. External focus groups, internal dialogue, same principles apply.
Though she does mention one small difference at the end.
Oh, right. The closure. For a focus group, you might validate their parking ticket.
Practical.
Very. But for her internal dialogue, she ends by saying, "Ti voglio bene. Grazie per avermi aiutato a vedere ciò che vedi tu."
I love you. Thank you for helping me see what you see. Wow, that adds a layer of self-compassion.
It really does. And she stresses this isn't just about our inner world. This way of welcoming different perspectives works with other people too.
If you can do it inside, maybe you can do it outside.
That seems to be the idea. Which brings us back to her opening point.
That it's not true. You have to love yourself first before you can love others.
Exactly. Non è vero ciò che dicono. Potete amare qualcuno finché non amate voi stessi. You can love someone until you love yourself, or maybe while you're learning to love yourself.
And she had that analogy about love being like a house.
That you can get into through a window, meaning there isn't just one door, one right way to find love or self-acceptance.
So for someone listening who feels like full self-acceptance is just too much right now.
Her advice is pretty simple, actually. Start small. Start by extending that unconditional welcome to someone else.
The person next to you, friend or stranger.
Doesn't matter. Just practice letting them in, accepting them as they are, without judgment. Tutto ciò che dobbiamo fare è lasciarle entrare. All we have to do is let them in.
And she ends with that lovely reminder about humanity.
Yeah. Siamo belli e strani, complicati e spaventati, qualche volta un po' tremendi. We are beautiful and strange, complicated and scared, and sometimes a little terrible.
It's just true, isn't it? We're all mix.
We really are. And maybe the most provocative thought she leaves us with.
The real kicker at the end.
Yeah, is that maybe every single person you manage to offer that unconditional welcome to might actually show you a part of yourself that's worthy of love.
Huh. So welcoming others helps you see the welcome-worthy parts of yourself reflected back.
That seems to be the implication, this deep connection between how we treat others and how we ultimately learn to treat ourselves. Definitely something to chew on.